What is up, guys? My name is Lex. Today we are playing at a new location. No, not Sherwin-Williams. We're going to be playing at Texas Card House here in Austin, Texas, and we're going to be playing on a 2-5 live stream. This is my first time at this location, and man, is it nice. We end up checking out the lounge right outside the poker room, and then we get a daily membership card, which is what they do here in Texas. We then head over to the live stream table. We're buying in for $1,000, which is the max, but after the first hand, it's match the stack. So we're going to get right into the action here.
And welcome, folks, to a very special edition of TCH Live. Thursday, 2-5, match the stack, and we have got a very special guest, our good friend Lexo Poker here to play.
We are playing 10-handed here, and the table looks good. A lot of action. We are starting off here with a $10 PLO single board bomb pot, which means everybody puts in $10, we all get 4 cards, and then we go straight to the flop and start playing.
Thursday is a good night everywhere across the TCH Empire. So
the board is 3-4-5 rainbow. We look down at our hand and we have ace, deuce, jack, 7 with backdoor spades. So we flop the bottom end of the straight here. We have the third nuts. J-stack ends up leading out for $100, and I'm not going to raise given the fact that I'm so multi-way. I just make the call here with a straight. The button calls, and now the action's on the big blind. The big blind ends up putting in a check raise to $600, and you guys can see his hand. He has 6-7, so he has the nut straight, the best hand possible. Now it's on J-Stack, who thinks for a little bit of time and ends up folding. So with the action on me, given the fact that I called $100 and now this guy is betting and check raising into all these people, I just think he has the nuts here a lot of the time. I don't normally play PLO, but I don't think it's good to get your whole stack in with a third nut, so I think for about 10 seconds and fold. The button decides to go all in here with his straight. He has ace deuce as well. Brian snaps him off and ends up winning this first pot.
pump those rookie numbers up as Lexo can open here with deuces. Z has rebought and matched up here to the top stack. Going to come out ace ace 7 here as Anderson was second pair. Lexo going to c-bet here with deuces and aces. And now Chase here with a king high diamond draw. Seeing a small bet and an overcall, says, okay, I'll just go ahead and take this pot right here.
All right, moving on to the next hand, I've added on to my stack now with about $2,000 to match the biggest stack, which is just the best part about Texas poker. There's a straddle on under the gun, and now Brian raises it up to $55. I see him do this, and I look down on the button with ace-queen. So I'm thinking, should I 3-bet or just call before J-Stack puts in a raise himself? He makes it $175. I look back at my hand, and this is a close spot. I was actually really worried about Brian raising to $55 from under the gun, so I end up letting my ace-queen offsuit go here. I think if it was suited, I could possibly be making the call, but I think I'm going to be up against a very strong range, which I was, Brian having pocket kings. He ends up 4-betting here and taking this one down.
Here I think is like, oh, is this guy tight or this guy not action? And yeah, it's... We're going to go with a raise up here to 75 by Lexo with ace-queen. I don't know, like if you're trying to make a living, like I don't know if I'm necessarily caring if I want to validate myself to strangers as much as like, okay, hey, my eyes on profit. Doesn't mean it comes easy though, as Steven now going to 3-bet here to 300 on the button with ace-jack. Going to put in just a little above half a stack. And Z is woken up with kings.
Maybe. A few hands later, there's a $20 straddle this time. I look down at ace-queen and the hijack raises it to $75. The button puts in a 3-bet to $300 with only $488 left in his stack. And now the small blind is in the tank. He decides to shove all in. So now I'm in another tough, difficult spot here with ace-queen. Given all this action, I'm definitely not going to be calling off here for $2,000 with ace-queen, so I end up letting this one go. This next hand might be one of the most interesting hands of the night. There's an under-the-gun $10 straddle on, folds all the way to me in the big blind. I look down at 8-5 offsuit and decide to raise this one up. I make it $40, and Dante in the straddle ends up making the call. The board comes out ace-9-3 rainbow, so I decide to down bet here. I make it $30, which is what I would do with all of my ace-x hands, pocket 9s, pocket 10s, jacks, and queens. And now Dante decides to raise. He makes it $110, which doesn't make any sense. If he had flopped a set or two pair on this board, I think he'd be putting in the trap, trying to let me bet again on the turn. He's never raising a hand like ace-jack or ace-10 or ace-7 on the flop, so I decide to call here with thoughts of potentially check-raising big on the turn, or if he checks back the turn, I'll lead out huge on the river. The fourth card here is the 8 of hearts, giving us a pair. I check it over to him, and he continues to tell his story here. He puts out a $150 bet. Now I have a pair. I was thinking about check raising the turn no matter what it was, but now that I have a pair and I think he has total air, I don't think he's ever playing a strong hand like this, especially with this bet sizing on the turn, so I end up thinking for a while. I don't think I can fold just yet, so I end up making the call for $150. A pretty wild hand is brewing up here. We're going to the river with around $600 in the middle, which comes off the 7 of spades. I don't think it changes too much here, and I end up checking it over to him, and he instantly goes all in.
A big overbet on this spot. I guess maybe hoping that he tries to get a bluff catch from an ace. Maybe some two-pair combos that could have maybe you hit a 9-8 or an ace is up.
I can beat 5 high.
This will be a fold inevitably by Lexo, but I think he is going to at least take a little time to be like, what in the world do you have here, brother, man?
Probably, yes, yeah. 10 high?
Maybe this is going to be Dante.
It turns out our flop read was correct. He didn't have anything at all when he was raising. He ended up turning a straight draw and a flush draw and giving us a pair, so he bet again on the turn. We ended up making the call with an 8, and then the river, he binked the straight. He went all in and can't be calling there with an 8, so I end up folding. He says he's going to show for the vlog, and he shows 10-6, and at first, I thought he had 10 high, so I thought he was bluffing. Then I realized that he had a straight, and it got the table laughing pretty hard. Moving right along here, there's an under-the-gun limp with pocket fours. Chase, who has been giving a ton of action, straddling to huge amounts, decides to raise it up to $30. There is 3 callers for $30. Before I look down at pocket 8s on the button, I make a pretty standard call. I could sometimes be 3-bet squeezing here, but I'd rather just set mine on the button in position.
Let's see if Lexo can qualify for the quads. Jackpot, we got one of them. Again, quads of the day here at Texas Card House. With it being the 8th, it is pocket 8, so he's halfway there. Lexo going to flop a set of gutter ball here for J Stack. Chase here with the bottom end of the open-ended straight draw with some hope of the backdoor clubs.
We end up flopping our first set of the evening here 5 ways, and Chase puts out a massive C-bet, over pot size bet of $165. Folds to me, and I decide to call. My thought process here is that I want to slightly under at my hand. It's also a super wet and connected board. I'm losing to some straights and obviously pocket 10s. Given the fact that I'm so deep with him, I just want to call here, let him keep betting his overpairs on the turn. The turn comes off the 5 of spades, doesn't really change anything at all. If I was winning on the flop, I'm still winning now, and Chase decides to keep betting here. He ends up betting $165 again.
How many purples do you have? Those are
Bet
500, right?
of 165 yet again here for Chase. Pairs up is 5.
Thank you.
Given the fact that he bet the same amount as he did on the flop, I feel like he has a 1-pair hand a lot of the time, most likely a 10. Sometimes he has overpairs or possibly a pair and a straight draw. So I'm going to put in a raise here, trying to get value from all those hands. I make it $525. He pretty quickly looks at his hands and mucks. So we end up taking down the first significant pot here, flopping a set on the live stream. By now, the game is getting pretty wild. Chase is giving a ton of action. He's straddling to 100 or more almost every orbit. He ends up raising to $20. There's a call before I look down at ace jack of diamonds on the button. I put in a 3-bet here for value and also to isolate these 2 players. I make it $125 and they both make the call. 3 ways to a flop of 6, 7, 10 with 2 diamonds, flopping the nut flush draw. When my opponents check to me, I decide to check this one back and get a free card. I think this board texture is going to smash their calling ranges with some sets, 2 pairs, and straights. And as you can see, Tillman ends up flopping 2 pair on this board. The turn card is the 9 of spades. It does give us a gut shot to an 8 when my opponents check to me. I decide to check this one back, just trying to realize my equity, trying to hit a diamond, which I miss. It ends up pairing the 7. Chase decides to lead out here for a bet, and Tillman races with his full house. I pretty quickly get out of the hand. Chase folds, and Tillman ends up taking down this pot.
Winner chicken dinners. 7's full of 10s, good for all the money. We've got a pretty deep.
Next up, there's a limp. I raised it to $75 with Jack 10 of clubs from middle position. I want to be going big with my raise sizing, given the fact that I'm so deep with my opponents and they are calling with a lot of marginal hands. I make it 75, chase calls, and J-stack limp calls as well. So going 3 ways to the flop. We see a board of queen 7-4 with 1 club. I have some backdoor straight and flush draws, so I'm going to be c-betting here, looking to continue to barrel on all clubs or possibly straightening cards. So when check to me, I put out a $150 bet. I don't think my opponents will smash this board too often. They shouldn't have many 2 pairs. They can't really have any sets of queens, only sets of 7s and 4s. The action is now on Chase, who called in the big blind with King-Jack offsuit. He doesn't feel like playing anymore. He lets his cards go, and J-stack pretty quickly makes the call.
He's hoping for a good turn card.
It's a great card to barrel for Lex. I would like to see a 2/3 or bigger sizing from Lexo here, like 400. Nope, he just is going to try to realize. I think that would have been a really good spot for Lexo to bet his turn equity and then definitely follow through ace river.
Oh!
And then would have liked to see a bigger bet there from Lexo on the river.
Looking back, I really hate how I played this hand. I think I should be overbetting the turn a lot of the time, and then the river, I should either bet way bigger or just check. The $200 bet was pretty terrible. He's just going to call with all of his pairs, so I do not like how I played this hand.
Zippy says he was a college wrestler and a CrossFit athlete. Well, you know, that's... I just tallied off one other person I know I will never mess with. All right, Lexo here with ace-queen, going to open up to 30. I imagine he may have more. I mean, he had hands from the TCH vlog that were, I think, from after the stream. So
let's go, Tillman.
Tillman here.
Flop a jack,
Tillman's
Tillman. You can do it.
Therapy. Nope, nothing here for much of anybody. Lexo may just be.
This next hand is pretty fun here. I raise it up to $30 with ace-queen, get 2 callers. 9-6-3, I check, and Dante checks behind. The turn card is a 5, and now Dante ends up betting out $55 when checked to. So given the fact that he checked back the flop, and now he's betting on the 5 turn, this just felt like he was taking a stab given the fact that we were checking to him twice. So I end up looking him up here. I call $55 with ace-high, going to the river, which is a 7. So it brings a 1-liner to a straight with any 4 or any 8. And Dante decides to keep betting here. I check and he bets $130, and now he's basically repping only a straight. Now I end up going deep into the tank here. I don't think he'd be betting the sizing with a 4 because he'd be afraid that I might have an 8 for a better straight. I think he can have a ton of missed draws here. He can also have Broadway cards like Queen Jack, Queen 10, King Jack, King 10, anything like that to decide to do a 2-barrel bluff. He can also have some ace highs like he does right now. So I think for about 30 seconds, and I just don't think he has it. I'm going to feel pretty dumb if I call here with ace high and he shows me a straight. I put in the chips and he tells me, you got it, I have ace high. I show ace queen for a better ace high. I actually don't mind his play here. Given the fact that I checked twice, I don't think it's bad for him to try to bluff here. But after seeing that 10-6 hand, I'm not going to be folding ace high that easily.
Just completely brought everybody out of the woodwork. Like, wait. You can talk about...
Last hand I'm going to play on the stream here. I raise it up to $40 from under the gun +1 with ace deuce of hearts. A little light open, but I want to be playing some hands before the stream ends. Only Brian calls on the button, so going heads up here to the flop.
I think Lexo's got this for the 2 in a row, Mikey.
I think so. All right, not flush draw here for Lexo up against the mystery hand of Brian. That, I don't know, this has probably got a lot of like Queen X, Jack 10, Broadway combos that can probably take it at least one more stream.
Oh my gosh, someone
Seems
in chat.
reasonable. He's going to make the call. Anderson, $5 super chat. Looking
Man,
forward to rewatching
Anderson's
later.
such a G, man.
I flopped a nut flush draw at c-bet the flop and Brian calls. The turn card is a jack of diamonds, which doesn't help my hand at all, but can help him with some straights and 2 pairs, so I decide to check it over to him and look to check call most of his bets. I check and he ends up putting out a bet of $110. Brian is giving me a pretty good price here to draw to my flush, so I think for a little bit of time and decide to make the call. We are looking for some improvement here, looking for a flush. One of the last hands of the night. Come on, let's do it for the live stream. The river is the 7 of hearts. We end up making the flush, the best hand possible.
Last hand.
$437 pot. Does he go ahead and just lead at this kind of transparently, or does he maybe hope Brian's got enough apiece that he might go
Oh no.
searching for thin value?
Lexo's going for the tank value bet. It's too value weighted.
I don't want to let this river check all the way through, so I end up leading out here for a pot size bet. I make it $425. I think it's a little bit too big looking back now. I don't think Brian's going to have many straights or two pairs in his range, given the fact that he only bet $110 on the turn. I think he's going to have a lot of single pair queen X hands. So I think a bet of $250 to $300 would be better.
So did he hit enough of a hand? Maybe he has like a set of fours.
Brian tanks for over a minute and decides to show a queen and fold. So we're not going to get paid off here with our nut flush, but we do take down one of the last pots on the live stream. The live stream is over and the cameras are off. The lights are turned down, but we continue to play here. We're going to play for another 2 hours. I'm going to show you guys two more interesting hands that I play on the night. I ended up winning $180 on the live stream. It's pretty ironic, I didn't pick up any big pocket pairs on the live stream, but once the cameras are off, I pick up pocket aces, raise to $25, and get a button caller. So going heads up here to the flop, which comes out queen, 3 deuce with 2 diamonds. I put out a $30 c-bet, and Brian on the button makes the call. Going to the turn, which is a 5 of clubs, I continue to bet here, putting out a pretty sizable bet of $130, trying to get value from all straight draws, flush draws, and queen X hands. Brian thinks for about 20 seconds and makes the call, so I'm feeling pretty good about the situation. I put him mostly on queen X and flush draws. The dealer collects the chips into a pot of $375, going to the river, which is the 9 of clubs. Shouldn't change anything at all unless he has a hand like queen 9 suited, so I'm going to continue to put the pressure on here. I have an overpair, I have aces trying to get called by king queen, ace queen, queen jack, and queen 10, so I put out a pretty big bet, $280 going in the middle. I want the button to think that I have a hand like ace king or ace jack where I missed my straight draw and I'm continuing to bet as a bluff, or I have a missed flush draw and I'm trying to bluff him off of his hand. I'm trying to bet big here, polarizing my range to either an overpair or nothing at all. I bet $280. He thinks for a little bit of time and decides to flick in the call. I show pocket aces and they are not good. He shows pocket deuces for a set on the flop. That is very unfortunate. We finally picked up a premium hand that ended up losing around $450 against a flop set. I don't mind the way Brian played this hand. He just called the flop in the turn, which allowed me to keep betting on the river. If he raised the flop or raised the turn, I probably would fold. However, I think this river is a mandatory raise, probably to around $700 or $800 there with bottom set, but either way, he ends up taking down this pot and cracking our aces. In this next hand, it's every guy's dream. I have 2 chicks at the same time, and I got it on video so I can watch it later. I look down at pocket queens, raise it to $25, cut off button, and small blind calls. The flop comes pretty pretty good. Comes queen, king, 4, so we end up flopping a set here. I decide to lead out. I'm going to bet $50. The cutoff calls, button calls, and the small blind folds. Given the fact that I have middle set here and I don't block top pairs like king jack, king 10, and king 9, and I got 2 callers on the flop, when the turn is a break, I decide to check here, trying to let someone bet their top pair so that I can check raise. Unfortunately, it checks all the way through, and the river is an offsuit ace, which is a pretty bad card because it brings in jack 10. I just felt like somebody had jack 10 here for a straight, so I end up checking it, and it gets all the way to the button, who puts out a $125 bet, and I'm not going to fold my set for that price, so I make the call, and unfortunately, he shows us exactly what we thought. He has jack 10 offsuit for a straight, which means our pocket queens, our set of queens are going in the muck here. The ladies didn't treat us well this time. We end up racking up our chips, heading to the cage, and cashing out for the night. Alright guys, it is the next day here. We're in this little private room. We have Antonio Esfandiari behind me. Pretty cool place here they have at TCH Austin. And last night was my first ever live stream. It was a ton of fun. There was a lot of action players on the table. Stacks were big, so it was good. But unfortunately, I can't really dictate what kind of cards I get. Obviously, I'd love to cooler somebody or flop a big hand versus their not so good hand and win a big pot, but couldn't really get too much going. Ended up flopping a set of 8s there, which was good. Got cooler in a bomb pot and lost a minimum. I didn't really get any premium hands. I didn't get aces, kings, queens, or jacks. I had pocket 10s, I 3-bet and got 1 street of value. So unfortunately, I didn't feel like I could really showcase like my poker ability and stuff, but it was still a lot of fun. Players were given some action. There were some huge straddles. I was trying to put the straddle on too. I was straddling the 10, 20, and 40. I think my percentage of hands was like 25 or 30%, which was pretty good. Either way, it was a ton of fun. I'll be back. The staff was great. The dealers were great. The whole table was really fun, so I had a great time. I can't wait to come back and play on the stream again. And if you guys watch the stream and my video, I really appreciate it. We ended up closing out the stream in for $5,000, cashing out for 51 and change. So I think I won about $160 on the stream. And then we played another hour and a half after the stream, which is where I showed you guys the aces and the queens hands. So, you know, finally picked up some hands after the stream, ended up losing, but ended up losing around $400 on the day. So nothing too crazy, nothing too big, but it was really fun, and I can't wait to come back to Austin. I love the room here. The people in Texas are great. The action's great. Hope you guys liked this video. If you did, hit that like and subscribe button and comment down below. Go check out TCH Live on their live stream. They live stream basically every single day of the week, but I'll be back here for sure. Until next time, I'll see ya.